OAUG Young Professionals Forum conference call. Just a few housekeeping things as we get started today. A special thank you to everyone for joining us. This is just going to be a wonderful call today. So much excitement and anticipation around the big topic of big data. So thank you all for joining us. If you would please just take a moment to ensure that you are called in today via a landline or a cell phone rather than your computer. And throughout the presentation, if you will remain on mute just to avoid any extra feedback so that we can all hear, that would be wonderful. If you have any issues or questions throughout the presentation, please feel free to type those into your question box, and I will see those and be happy to help you in any way that I can. And without further ado, I will welcome Mr. Keaton Finke of our board to get us started.
Thank you, Anna. Welcome, everyone. I'm excited to make this presentation on for the Young Professionals Forum. We have Sean from Secure24 talking about big data. But before we do that, let's quickly look at today's agenda. And what we're going to be talking about is a few updates on what's happening with OAUG overall and the Young Professionals Forum. I'll also talk a little bit about the various committees that OAUG runs and see if any of those committees pique any interest from any of the attendees on this call. We'll then switch over to Sean for him to talk about big data. So as most of you probably already know, big data is a topic that's one of the hot topics within the IT and the tech sector, and I'm sure the information Sean presents will be very interesting to all of us. And then we'll have certain a question and answer session and any discussions following through that. So with the Young Professionals Forum, this is the newest group that has been formed within OAUG, and the goal is really to help the members of the forum who are either new to any of the Oracle technologies that they're using to be efficient in resolving issues that they encounter. And that could be any number of problems that they run into, spanning from technology to training or anything surrounding any of the Oracle products or applications that you or your company are using. And also help you with come up with some innovative ideas about how to improve the product. And you could use OAUG's board as a sounding board to let Oracle know what you would like improved on the various applications and the technology that you're using. And overall, make life a little bit easier for you so that when you're supporting the application or using the application and as an end user, you're able to get through with your tasks without much of an issue. So that's really the overall goal of forming the young professionals and getting you involved with OAUG as an organization and have the various information that is available within OAUG at your disposal. And we'll also obviously give this as an opportunity for you to network with each other. A little bit about Oracle Open World that's coming up. We, OAUG, will have a booth that's number 3131 at the Users Group Pavilion. If you happen to attend Open World, I'd highly encourage you to stop by and meet some of the OAUG folks at the booth and introduce yourself and put a face to a name and see if you can get any other benefit out of it. We also continue to have the e-learning series, which are webinars on a monthly basis that are repeats of some of the sessions and presentations that were held at Collaborate 2014. And you can also get more information about it from oaug.org/answers. Next slide, please. We, within OAUG, we have several committees that we run, that several members of the board as well as members of OAUG get involved and enhance the user experience for OAUG. And if any of these committees that are listed here are of any interest to any of the attendees today, feel free to reach out to Anna, and she'll make sure that she goes through the process to get you included in one of those committees. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Sean Donaldson. He's going to talk about big data and what it means and how it affects the current industry. So over to you, Sean.
Hi, good afternoon. My name's Sean Donaldson. I'm the Chief Technology Officer at Secure24. So Secure24 is a managed hosting provider that specializes in hosting business critical applications. I've been with Secure24 for about 10 years, and we have a very large practice in the Oracle database and Oracle application space. So one of the things we wanted to talk about today is really what is big data? What is big data? What does it mean to me? Now, as a lot of people are aware, they've heard the term, and big data has become very much like the cloud was several years ago. Everybody knows they want it, they know they need to be part of it, but truly understanding what it is and what business value it can bring their business is really the most important part about it. So we're going to go through 4 main parts today. What is big data? The traditional ideas of big data, how big data analytics are kind of changing the world, and how Oracle's kind of shaking the market up a little bit, and some real-world examples we've seen from our customers looking for big data type solutions. You go on to the next slide. So big data, and I'm sure this is information that people have seen through a number of different sources. But fundamentally, the data footprint across the globe is growing at an exponential rate. And like a lot of things, data is created, but not very much data is ever destroyed. So a lot of data is kept, and in many cases, kept indefinitely. In addition to that, we're creating data at a tremendous pace. So now I've got all kinds of different data points, data information, more and more components and pieces of our daily life are becoming digitized, all of which are creating unique pieces of information about what we're doing, our purchasing habits, the weather outside, our driving habits, social media, web browsing histories. TV is becoming more and more integrated with it as well. All of these are creating various points of data, various points of information that are all being stored. This data is growing faster than ever. We're talking things like zettabytes, right? Huge, enormous numbers. The real question that comes down is, what do I do with this data? Now that I have this tremendous amount of information, this tremendous amount of business information, I'm collecting every point of sale transaction from different locations, and I'm collecting the weather, the temperature, the different statistical information in those areas. What can I do with that data? And originally, the big data, actually, can you jump on to the next slide? So this is where the traditional solutions for big data first came up. So the traditional big data, when most people would think about it, they think about something like Hadoop. Hadoop was a solution that was developed by the likes of Google and Amazon and such organizations that needed these giant capabilities for search capabilities that were more than a traditional relational database could handle. So when they're talking about taking tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of transactions per second, being able to store that data and process that data, it was very much a customized solution that you'd need to go to be able to provide such a solution. Oracle has adopted this type of solution as a bolt-on to a lot of their other engineered systems, and they're giving this out-of-the-box type capability for what they call their big data appliance. This brings together the Hadoop NoSQL complexities into a self-engineered system. But this still begs the question of, if I'm collecting all this information, if I'm collecting all this data from these various data sources, from these various information sources, what do I do with that data to make more business value? If you look at it fundamentally, technology doesn't exist for the business. Technology exists to provide a business function, right? So if you go to your CFO and you say, hey, I've got this great big data solution. I can collect all this information. I can run this report that used to take us 4 hours. I can run it in 15 minutes now. That's great, but what does that provide the business? Is that a report? Is that a batch job? Is that a piece of information that provides an additional business value by being able to run in a shorter period of time? Is that real-time data analytics somehow providing a value for the business? Is it being able to support additional sales, additional growth, additional customer information? What's it providing to the business? And that's where we're seeing almost a new, in the true big data world, we're seeing almost a new branch of employee, sometimes referred to as a data scientist. It's really that job of understanding, when I'm collecting this tremendous amount of data, this tremendous amount of information, how can I correlate it, analyze it, and provide reports that are useful to the business in some manner? How can I take this tremendous amount of data, this tremendous amount of information I'm gathering from all these different sources, and utilize that to provide a meaningful business function? And that's really where the key is to big data. It's the ability to collect all the data and the ability to build it into a cluster and to be able to report on it. That's all really good, but it's truly that ability to understand the business, understand what's critical to the business, and understand how you can correlate and report on the relevant data that will actually be able to make real-time business decisions. Go on to the next slide. So one of the other things that's the most interesting in the industry right now, so you have the traditional big data appliances that are, again, really good for the right use case. So a Hadoop solution running with NoSQL, it's a great tool for the right job. So Hadoop and NoSQL, well, Hadoop fundamentally is a clustering framework. It's not so much actually a database in itself. And if you look at NoSQL, NoSQL is a very, very simple database, but it provides a lot of linear scalability on commodity hardware and very fast response time. But what NoSQL does have as a limitation is it has the idea of eventual consistency. So if you're doing, let's say, business critical financial transactions that you need 100% ACID compliancy with, NoSQL might not be the best solution for you. So one of the most interesting things that's come up over probably the last 2 years or so is almost a new concept on the database, where you're effectively taking your traditional database that you would run all of your OLTP workloads on and making that where it can actually be able to provide the same type of performance and response time to data analytics queries as you would expect from a Hadoop or a solution like that. Obviously, it doesn't have quite the scalability of a Hadoop NoSQL type solution, but for most traditional workloads and traditional customers, it's a tremendously positive experience. Now, SAP was really one of the first to embark on this, but they tried for a different approach to it that's a highly complex solution. So the SAP solution is very much around their HANA database, which is a columnar database. What this is, it's a fundamental change to the way that the database and database structure is set up. Instead of being a traditional row-based database, it's now a columnar database. One of the big challenges that SAP has ran into with that is it's very, very good for reporting, but it's not very good for high transactional workloads. So when you have a lot of transactions coming into row-based, it's not somehow the best for it. So it's kind of, maybe it's good for very reporting, but it's not still somehow so good for normal transitions. What Oracle has just recently released, that's probably one of the most exciting things in the world of big data right now, is with Oracle 12c, 12.1.0.2. What Oracle does is Oracle has a hybrid solution that utilizes their traditional OLTP database, relational database, as everyone's used to and knows how to use. And what they've done actually is they've actually allowed for it to run in parallel a high-performance columnar in-memory database. So what Oracle's done is they've kind of pioneered to provide the best of both worlds, from a very fast analytics reporting, as well as without unchanging the OLTP, the traditional relational database, table structure, schema structure, or information. Larry Ellison just recently did a presentation on this, and it was very interesting. Now, obviously, he did it on a very, very large server. He did it on one of the M6 32 terabyte machines. He loaded every search from Wikipedia since 2008 into memory in a columnar compressed database and was able to search it sub-second. So if you can envision how much data is in every search query that's happened on Wikipedia since 2008, and to be able to search that sub-second, that is a tremendously fast capability. And the most interesting thing about that is now you can do it without having to change your database or learn a new database structure. So you can do it with a traditional Oracle database, and it's literally as simple as 1 or 2 commands to do an alter table. And this is where I think the majority, a large portion of the industry is going to be able to take a huge amount of advantage of relatively big data without having to invest in very specific big data type technologies. Now, obviously, again, talking about Hadoop and NoSQL and the Oracle Big Data Appliance, again, really think about that as the right tool for the right job. If you work for a very large organization, if you work for a FedEx or a UPS or an Amazon, and you're doing something on a tremendously massive scale, you're still going to want to probably look at those type of very large data solutions. But if you're more of running a J.D. Edwards, Hyperion's already running the times 10 database. Times 10 is effectively just a column, was one of the earlier iterations of a columnar database. Hyperion, J.D. Edwards, PeopleSoft. There's already been a number of reports of batch jobs and batch report jobs, specifically with J.D. Edwards, that can run orders of magnitudes faster, specifically by using the columnar in-memory capabilities. So what's really neat about this is, again, that I'm not changing my database at all, so I can kind of take advantage of, I can really take advantage of the fact that commodity hardware is getting a lot cheaper, memory is getting a lot cheaper. It's a lot more realistic that I can load my database with terabytes of memory and be able to fit my entire database effectively in memory for high-speed columnar searches. One thing that's important to know about that is when you're using the columnar database, you actually get a fair degree of compression as well. Obviously, that compression is varied based on the database, but you're probably going to see anywhere from a 3 to 5 to 1 compression. So if I have a terabyte of memory, I can easily fit a 3 to 5 terabyte database in that terabyte of memory for using the columnar compression. So it makes it a lot more realistic and a lot more practical. What we also see people doing is doing a combined approach. So now you can even take a combined approach where you say, okay, I'm going to keep my main data, my most hot data, if you will, in my Oracle, whether it's running on an Exadata, which is Oracle's engineered system specifically for high-performance database, whether it's on OVCA, which is the Oracle Virtual Compute Appliance, running Oracle database, and I can use tools provided by Oracle to actually easily import that data between the Oracle database, and if I want to go to a Hadoop and NoSQL solution running the Oracle Big Data Appliance, Oracle sets up a lot of the tools and capabilities to do that in a relatively easy manner. So if you do have the requirements where you're looking at truly a big data solution, truly a big analytics solution, there's that combination approach that really ends up making a lot of sense for a lot of our clients. The data analytics aspect is an aspect that's been around for a little while, and Oracle's been providing that solution with, again, some of their very specific one-off solutions, such as the times 10 database that I mentioned a little bit earlier. And what those are specifically is those are analytical front ends that effectively front end for the database for high-speed reporting. While those are still going to be an important part of the solution, it's important to know that some of those capabilities are now going to be evolved natively in the database. And it's going to be really important to understand the tools that are available to make sure you're putting the right tools in place to meet the right solution. You jump to the next slide. So some of the real-world examples. So one of the real-world examples I wanted to use, and I know I mentioned this earlier, it's really that idea of if you're going to your CFO and you're proposing a solution for a high-performance database, whether it's a big data appliance, whether it's an Exadata, whether it's simply doing an upgrade to be able to support the Oracle 12c capabilities. It's really important to understand what your business requirements are. So here's a real-world example from a PeopleSoft environment that makes a huge difference. So again, like I said earlier, if you present to your CFO that you have a really neat technology that can run reports faster, they might not be so interested in that. Now, if you can sit down, you can understand the business challenges, and you identify with the CFO that there's a particular payroll job that takes 18 hours to run. And that payroll job has to be ran and completed within a 24-hour window. Now, so if that job fails, you're at risk of not being able to rerun that job in a 24-hour window. Well, when you have a company of 10,000 employees and they don't get paid on time, that's a pretty big deal to them. They take that very seriously. So now if you can present to your CFO a solution where you can say, I can take that payroll job down to 4 hours, and if we have a failure in the payroll job, we can rerun the job and we can ensure that all of our employees get paid on time. That presents a great business case and a great understanding of the business, and you have a much higher adoption rate, and you can show how providing a high-performance solution for large volumes of data can provide a meaningful difference. These are some real interesting statistics. So obviously Gmail is a tremendously large storage system, right? 425 million active Gmail accounts. Twitter, UPS. These are tremendous amounts of data. And what we see even people doing when we start talking about that difference between big data and data analytics is if let's say you're doing financial transactions online, and you're taking transactions online, and you want to actually incorporate Twitter feeds into that, and you want to stream in Twitter feeds and do data analytics on what the Twitter feeds are trending towards. Those are types of solutions that you really need to look at the real big data solutions, such as the Big Data Appliance, to be able to take in that much information real time. We have, so if you're looking at, for example, a auto insurance company that wants to track everything about your car that's happening all the time, right? And they want to collect and stream all that data, and then they want to run various data analytics and reports on it. Those are great examples of how a Big Data Appliance would be able to help that tremendously. just looking at someone like UPS or FedEx, I mean, obviously you can just envision the number of packages that transition their workforce on a daily basis. It's a tremendous amount. And then you look at the amount of trucks and the amount of gas and how they do route optimization based on the package delivery route, the expectation set to the client, when the package is going to be delivered. When you look at that many individual data points, that's when you really start talking about the true big data world and how you can really do some amazing magic and save, in this case, saving 1.5 million gallons of fuel, which is just a tremendous amount if you truly think about it. So a lot of the businesses that we're in, we're not going to be using big data, most likely, on this grand of a scale as far as UPS is concerned. But what it really shows is that making sure you have an understanding of your business, what's important to your business, what types of reports, what types of data, and then understanding the tools that are available. Obviously, in our case, we're talking the Oracle tool stack, whether it's understanding about 12C's capabilities for in-memory high-performance reporting, the Big Data Appliance, where the Big Data Compliance can take millions and millions of transactions very quickly, albeit being a very simple database. Or if you're looking at something like an Exalytics for a business intelligence front-end data analytics processing. Using the right tool for the right job and truly understanding what your right business requirements are is a key part to making any big data type solution or technology successful. Go to the next slide. Yep, and I think that's, one thing I wanted to mention too is I will also be at Oracle Open World. Secure24 has a kiosk in the Linux Partner Pavilion, and I will also be stopping by the Young Professionals booth as well. So I definitely want to open it up for any questions. If there's any specific questions you had, or if there's anything that you want me to answer a little more clearly.
Awesome. Thank you, Sean. And everybody, thank you for that. We are going to open it up for questions. I am unmuting everybody now. So you can speak up on your phone, or if that doesn't seem to be working for you, please go in the chat box, and I will read the question aloud. However, if you are not typing up to ask it, mute your phone so that we can all hear the question. Okay. Thank you, guys. Any questions? And everyone should be unmuted now.
So, Sean, Keithan again, one of the questions I had was, other than Hadoop and some of the technology that Oracle has come up with, what other technologies are there for managing big data?
So specifically for managing big data, it really depends on how you're looking at it. If you're looking at it specifically from a database perspective, there's a lot more solutions that are more and more object-oriented or API-based, right? So what you have is a lot of solutions out there that are, EMC has a Green Plum solution. They're object-oriented storage solutions where you can store massive amounts of unstructured data and access it all via API.
Okay, thanks.
Great. Great question, Keaton. And if everybody can just make sure that they are muted unless they're asking a question, that would be wonderful. Any other questions for Sean?
The invoice would be $15,000, and it'll be for Safeguard and
okay, Sean, we have another question.
Safeguard Scholarship and
Will Newland is talking. Will, can you speak up?
Safeguard 5, Annual Basketball Camp 9, and Angelo Scholarship. So that's what this invoice will be for right now. Okay? It's just sending that invoice to me, and I'll send it over to him.
Everybody, if you could make sure that you're on mute, and I will read the next question. People talk about, oh, I'm sorry, Will.
And that'll go to my metro since
I think you may want to mute everyone, and if anyone has questions, they can type it in the chat box. Otherwise, there's going to be a lot of feedback.
Great idea, Keaton. Let's do that. Okay, everyone's muted. Please send me your question in the chat box if you have a question, and I'll be happy to read it out loud so we won't have any feedback. Here is one question. People talk about big data in terms of volume, velocity, variety, and veracity. Which of these 4 V's do you see as the real problem, and what can we do to fix it?
Okay. So fundamentally, so what were the 4 V's then?
Volume, variety, velocity, and veracity.
Well, I think really what it comes down to is, fundamentally, I don't know if there's necessarily any one of those that I would say is, let's say, the biggest challenge or the most important. I think it's truly about understanding what data is the most important for your business, right? So whether you're collecting a tremendous volume or a high amount of that data, it's really about what you do with it and understanding what volume of data or what velocity of data you want to be collecting. Understanding the data, because if you're just collecting all of the data all of the time, you need to understand what data is important to your business and if you should really be collecting it. Does that answer your question, or is there a maybe more specific?
Oh, no, I think that's good. Okay, we have another question. This is from Ravi. One quick question. As a hosting provider yourself, how would you envision using big data in short term? What's the first step you'd take? In other words, what would be the first use case?
Yeah, the first use case for us has really been a lot of the Exalytics appliances and the times 10 database. So we've had a lot of success with that in Hyperion environments. Hyperion's effectively a financial consolidation is what we mostly host for it. And we've had a lot of success using a Hyperion or the Exalytics hardware appliances running Essbase, the times 10 database, to do very, very high performance reporting and consolidation of financial data. What we're seeing right now is we're very much going into the world of the 12C in-memory, where we're looking at increasing the memory on Oracle databases significantly and using the in-memory capabilities for high-performance reporting of J.D. Edwards. We are also in the process of looking at big data appliances, and where we're actually looking at that is, again, very specific use cases for customers that are doing more mobile, web-based, interactive type applications. So they have an actual mobile application that I can't speak too much about, but it collects a tremendous amount of data from a tremendous amount of users, and that's really the use case that we're looking at for the big data appliance that we envision to be very successful. Did that answer your question?
I think so. Yes, thank you. That's what he says. Next question is from Deepak, and he says, Sean, can you compare Hadoop in terms of its capabilities with other products in the market? Are there any products that do better than Hadoop in a specific industry vertical?
You know, it's really hard for me to say. Hadoop is really more of a framework than a database, right? So the main thing about Hadoop is it makes the cluster out of commodity hardware, and there's lots of different flavors and implementations of it. The idea of a non-relational database, there are several different products that do that, and NoSQL is just one of them, right? NoSQL or not only SQL or however people call it different names, right? But it's one of them, and it's specifically around the idea of changing the paradigm to have a non-relational database that is a very simple, very high-speed, very scalable database. So there's other solutions in the market, But those are really the one that most of the industry has pretty much jumped on as being the primary solution. Hadoop can also be used as a very, very large file system as well. So it can be, you can use the HDFS file system as part of that solution as well.
And Deepak says thanks. So that was a great answer. And then we have just a few more questions. Everybody, if you do have any questions, it seems to be working really well to send those into the chat box and we can read them aloud. So continue to send those questions. The question box, I'm sorry, put them in the question box. And here's another one. We have a question. So if we continue to process and store data in the way that we are now, is big data a problem or an obstacle that we will continue to face and that perhaps our children face as well in the future?
If we continue, I think the way we store data is going to continue to evolve, right? With everything else in technology, the way we even look at the way we store data, because right now a lot of what we've been talking about is relatively structured data. So one whole other area of big data is the unstructured data, just the files, the pictures, the other components, right? And I think we're going to see the way we storage and the way we look at it very much change and evolve over time. As object stores become more prevalent, there's a lot of opportunity that your unstructured data becomes much more object-based, and you're collecting effectively lots of different metadata on it to organize and store it better. The traditional massive file shares, they only have so much scalability in them, right? So you can only make so many folders under I mean, you can make a lot, but at a certain time from a manageability and a scalability perspective, the unstructured data is going to have to become most likely more object-oriented over as time goes on. And for structured data, the database data, it's really going to come down to most likely to various archiving solutions. And what the best archiving solutions are to archive out old data without purging it, I think you're going to see a lot more advancements over that as time goes on. Did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you. That's perfect. Anybody else have any questions for Sean? Okay, well, if you guys think of any other questions, please feel free to share those with me, and I'll be happy to share them with Sean in the future and pass any information along or back and forth. But we want to thank you all for joining us today, and special thanks to Sean for leading us through this presentation and teaching us more about what big data is and why it matters to us on a daily basis in our lives. And I do want to remind everyone to come and visit us at Oracle Open World. The OAUG will have a booth there, and we'd love to talk to all of you. Come see us, come see Sean. It'll be great. And our next Young Professional call is scheduled for October, so I will be reaching out to everyone leading up to that call with specific dial-in information. Keaton or Sean, is there anything else I'm forgetting or anything else you want to share before we close the call?
No, absolutely. I appreciate the opportunity, and obviously this is a very big and broad topic, right? So if there's any other questions or any other specific information about how we utilize it, that it doesn't have to be a scary revamp or rehaul of the entire environment. How can you utilize modestly big data in a day-to-day fashion? Happy to discuss and answer any of those questions.
Well, I wanted to take the opportunity to thank you, Sean, for sharing your information and insights into big data. I'm sure by the level of interest and questions that have been asked, it seems like it's an engaging group, so that's good. I'd like to remind everyone to reach out to Anna if any of you are interested in being members of the committees that we talked about earlier. And also, if you have specific topics or items that you would like for OAUG to provide a webinar or web session on, do let Anna know about that as well. So with that, I'd also like to thank Anna for coordinating this effort, and thanks everyone. That's it for me.
Thank you, Keaton, and thank you, Sean. I'm getting not a flood of questions, but a flood of thanks from our young professionals that joined us today. So special thanks to all of you. And as Keaton mentioned, if you are interested as a young professional in helping us come up with topics or speakers, or just help us shape where this group goes as young professionals who utilize Oracle applications, please let me know. We'd love to have you on our steering committee, and I'd love to know what questions you have or what topics you would like to cover. And thank you all again for joining us today, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day.